Then at 20 minutes till the hour, I'm going to open it up to questions for the audience. So I would just ask that be writing one down. That is a very tough question, and the best way to come up with good questions is always to think about just naturally within yourself, what do you really want to know? What? You don't have to frame it in any other way, but please be thinking of a good question to ask. Okay, and with that, we will get started. So I'm going to ask this question for each panelist to give one answer, and please be rapid in it. First, what is Armenia's global tech brand today, and what is it built on?
So from the outside, I would say that Armenia's image is emerging but very genuine, especially being here for the past few days, seeing the ecosystem in person. There's a lot of substance, but perhaps what's still missing is this one unified story that everybody globally knows. So there's still work to be done on this unified story, but there's incredible engineering talent, there's incredible success stories, Pixar, Tumo, etc. So there's a lot of bright stars, but we still need to create a constellation that everybody can associate with and recognize globally.
So yes, I have a bit the same outlook as Adhele has. When I came for the first time in Armenia, I knew very little about it, and I was very impressed. And I saw that there was a very strong, vibrant ecosystem and very incredible people and initiatives. Yet, I don't think we have a tech brand right now, because what misses for us is the recognition, and the recognition is what creates the value of the brand. And this is not yet there, and as such, we need to create this in order for the story to emerge and be able to disseminate it.
Thank you.
Sorry. So maybe I will just add to my colleagues. I will not talk about the current tech brand because I feel that we need a storytelling. And during the next questions, I will maybe share more details how I feel about that. But what it is currently, it is grounded on. I think it is the vibrant ecosystem. It is talents, national talent pipeline. It is public-private partnership, and of course, it is our powerful diaspora network.
So, to me, Armenian tech brand is like a very luxurious hidden brand that few people discovered, and they are taking full advantage of it, but they are not freely open to share that with others. So it's kind of a club. So if we are talking from outside, there are few organizations and people who know Armenian brand well, tech brand, and it's not widely advertised, and it has no visual identity or something like that. But if you meet technology people outside and they had the chance to know one Armenian in tech, they are impressed. And from what I'm getting feedback is that it's all about trust, solving hard problems, creativity, and hard work. So actually we do have a brand, but we need to summarize it, we need to advertise it, we need to give it a visual or maybe written down form. So it's not formulated, but it's there. Because the brand is not the visual, it's what people talk about you. So as a tech entrepreneur, I had this problem. When you meet vice president of Nike of technology innovation and you impress them with your technology, then they ask, where are you from? You say Armenia. They are looking on the map, Albania, where is that, and so on. But if you meet a person that had met an Armenian before that, they have totally different respect and trust. So we do have a brand, but we need to formulate that and advertise.
It's very interesting to reflect on and hear people's different conceptions, and it's not surprising that within Armenia you're aware of what the ecosystem is and the characteristics of it, and also not surprising that the people from outside Armenia, including myself, think really people don't know, right? You know, I could tell you, obviously Silicon Valley has the biggest tech brand, right? And it's about cutting edge, cutting edge, cutting edge. China has a growing tech brand, which is about doing things despite the obstacles, right? From DeepSeek, right? That's probably the latest example of that. And I'm sure we're going to have a lively discussion as well about what Estonia, for instance, how it built a tech brand. But I think if Armenia is going to emerge into the world, it needs to have something that is so short and powerful and punchy that we will get it right away. But we can discuss that, right? We can talk about what exactly a brand is, and I hope we will. But the next question I want to just ask is, why does Armenia need a tech brand? And the answer to that could be specific to Armenia needing a tech brand, or it could be, why does any place need a tech brand?
Should I start?
Yes.
All right, so I mean, coming from Estonia, I quite liked in preparation for this panel, I found the, I think, former head of Country Image Center or something from Latvia, who summarized quite well the journey that Estonia and the Baltic states, and I think Armenia can also relate to this, took after regaining independence from the Soviet Union. And the summary of the story was that the first stage was, we are here. So after regaining independence, showing that we are a state, we are here, we have to prove that we are an actual country that people know about. Then the second stage was kind of funny, we are normal. So in Estonia, that was, I was cut off for the we are normal part. So in Estonia, that was the stage of becoming a part of the EU, becoming a part of these international alliances. So now you're a part of this kind of global community, and the next stage was, we are special. So what is about Estonia, about these countries that makes you unique? What is the unique value that you bring to the table? Now, why do you need to be special, or why do you need this brand? I think that in a world where we see that hard power is again taking center stage, I think that indicates that power in general is still quite important, and power is made of hard power and soft power, and branding really is a very strong form of soft power to attract investment, to attract talent, and well, to also build friends and build alliances. So when trouble comes knocking, then you have friends and alliances that know what you're all about, what you bring to the table, and you're something worth fighting for. So I think that branding is power, branding is bringing benefits and investments into the country, and you need that unified story, especially in a world that's so loud with all these different stories. You need something that's special, that stands out, and when you have that, then you have a global community open to you and supporting you.
Catherine.
Oh, she's stealing the show because she said many things that I was about to say too. But obviously it makes sense because this is what it is. Branding is definitely soft power. It's a core element of a country attractiveness. And since we have said that for the time being, Armenia is not really on the map for many people. And when I talk to business people in France, and not only French people, because working for a trade promotion agency, I'm in relation with all our counterparts in Europe, and I asked them what they knew about Armenia, and what came out was quite nice, but was not to the point. It was never about the tech scene, they had no idea. So these people are not exactly investors, but they are the ones that talk to investors, so they are important. And we need to convey a narrative to them in order for them to also convince, you know, their tech and business communities. So I think there's another thing which makes the fact of having a tech brand important. We're talking about country image, and we're talking about country attractiveness and country branding. Why a tech brand especially, and not simply just country branding? Because, you know, country branding and tech branding is not exactly the same thing. So tech has been the fastest growing sector in Armenia, and is still. And it's where you can have a competitive edge. And this is why the best branding for Armenia is to go through tech. Plus, tech has a very positive, is looked upon very positively everywhere. It means the future, it means growth, it means revenue, and therefore creating a brand through tech is a very good policy. That's what France has done, by the way. Because when we think of France in like the beginning of the beginning of the 21st century, we made a study about the image of France. And the study was saying that France was a very nice country, good positive image. Milk and honey was the type of image that came out. That is, country where living is nice and you have all these fashion, cosmetic, etc., and fine living, let's put it that way. But it was not a business image that came out. So the whole job of our government was trying to not to change completely that image, because that soft power is pretty good at the same time. And we wanted to retain it, but creating an image of a country of entrepreneurs, of startup. And that's where the initiative, the French Tech initiative was created. It stemmed from that, from this audit of our brand. And we saw that it was very effective, because now we have 33 unicorns, we have raised a lot, we have 25,000 startups that are in the movement, so it has been very effective. Another point why Armenia should create a tech brand, and since it might become the sort of country branding, is that it's a unifying force within the country. It allows a country to develop a strategy, a policy, and I think that's very important, that it should unify the private and the public sector in order to build something together and have a long-term view, because a brand is not a short-term stuff. It's something where you really create a policy and you really create a strategy of what where you want your country to go to. So it's rooted in what you are, and it's at the same time aspirational.
It's very, it's interesting to hear this and reflect on the fact that I think you're hearing there's two parts to creating a brand, and one part is internally the solidarity of pulling together a community, and then figuring out together what is the image you want to project to the world. So part of what we're talking about here today, I think, is where is Armenia in that journey? And so I'm interested to hear if you can, our two panelists from Armenia can talk about why you're working on this. Why are we having this conversation?
Yeah, thank you. So maybe just first, why we need tech brand, why countries need tech brand. I think because, like, when you speak about technology, I believe that technology is not selling itself anymore. And narrative, storytelling, and trust do. And about Armenia, maybe just before speaking about the progress, I would like to start with some numbers. ICT sector for the last several years, maybe even a decade, was one of the cornerstones of our economy. And it is contributing like about even more than 5% to our GDP growth, and annually growing like in average 20 to 25%. And we are also have generated about 1.2 billion USD dollars in export. And I think that this is incredible. This growth didn't just happen, right? It is a long-term investment, and I will not afraid to say it is investment in early tech education and engineering culture. Let's take our Math Labs, and I believe everyone is aware about our Math Labs, where we are introducing our kids to coding and robotics, two more centers. This is already a global brand, global identity, where we are sharing our knowledge and expertise in creative tech education. And recently we also introduced Generation AI program in our schools to have next generation already AI educated. And I think these facts already speak about that Armenia has already built the most inclusive tech educational ecosystem in the region. But this is not the story we would like to tell the world. This is how I feel it, because the world is changing fast. Technology is moving even faster than we are telling our story. So AI, I would like to speak about AI. AI currently is redefining everything in the world, industries, economies. It is accelerating research, and it is accelerating decision making at the speed humanity never have seen before. And what is important within the scope of this topic, I think that it also redefines how we how nations compete, on what nations compete on. And here is why I think that we should define for ourselves what we stand for in the new era of AI. We need to have clear message to the world, and we should make sure that we globally at this we position ourselves globally, and it is recognizable. Our identity, tech identity, is recognizable globally.
You already have an emerging global spokeswoman right there. Sargis, please.
So, to simplify why Armenia needs a tech brand for our tech community, it's simple. It brings down it cuts the costs of customer acquisition, basically. So if you have a brand recognition, it's easier and much affordable to have new customers. They come to you. You don't spend money to have new customers. So speaking of business language, right? So that's why it's simple. Why we need a brand? Because if you invest in branding, then you get inbound customers.
Yeah.
UATE has been doing this. This topic is not new, by the way. UATE is 25-year-old, and there were many trials and failures to create tech brand for Armenia. As you know, our ecosystem has grown through. It has grown bottom up, not top down, because Armenians from Silicon Valley came, started first companies, then UAT was created, and so on and so forth. So it came bottom up, and we were having challenges to convince the government to invest in the country tech branding. And now we hope that with your help, with Expertise France, U for Innovation, with new people from technology in government agencies like Enterprise Armenia, together with joint forces, we can have this commitment from the government, because this is something that needs to be done top down. What we have learned in our experience, by the way, we invested hundreds and hundreds $1,000 into creating brands. Once it was called Why Armenia. It was a platform. It worked a little bit, then it didn't work. We didn't have unified. The government didn't took it. Some tech companies didn't took it. So we have all this experience, and we have discussed this before, right? So the reason we wanted to talk about this, to get the buying of all the partners. So this should be a partnership, so everybody agrees. So this is not UAT created, this is not HTI Ministry or Enterprise Armenia. This is, we as a country, we create this and we stick to the plan, because once the brand is created, then the challenge that we failed many times is the execution. Is everybody using that? Let's say we decided that every tech company in Armenia should have something in their signature that identifies as a tech Armenian brand. can we convince all the CEOs of the tech companies to use that identification or not? That's the challenge. And here where UATE comes. So if we can top down agree with the government, we can close the gaps bottom up.
Wow, that's interesting. I was gonna just mention to you all, I think you have already a couple of huge advantages from my perspective of covering emerging ecosystems around the world. One is that if you've already got the government to agree, if you've got the established players to recognize how important technology is, you are so far ahead of the game. Because, for instance, in the Gulf region, I don't think they're there yet, right? Everyone there is still investing in real estate and not in technology. That was a huge generalization, but fundamentally kind of true. And then the second thing is you have this diaspora, so you're starting to have real evidence of big investors who are taking a risk on Armenia. But so we wanted to.
Can I say? Yeah, I just wanted to say something going in the same sense that Sargis is. He mentioned at the beginning that there is a tech brand and that it's well hidden, and I think we can compare it to a rough diamond. You have all the elements, but nobody sees it because it's rough, and you have to polish it. You have to put it on a beautiful ring, and then show it to the world. And once you do that, or you create that narrative, you have all the elements to do it. I mean, I've met many people since I've came to Armenia the first time, and I was impressed on how the messages and all the identification elements are already there. Of course, they're scattered, they're expressed differently, but they're all there. And so they're really, the material is definitely there. And once you can unify all this in a message that is, and I think it will not be that difficult to be agreed by your community, to be appropriated and create an ownership by the community and of course the government, it will be easy to create that messaging that you will be able to give to your incredible arm, which is your diaspora, which is something we haven't talked about, but which is very strong, and which should be used in a way as ambassadors of this brand, because once they are equipped with that message kit, they can be much more effective than they have been so far. And they can do what is very important is that they can have, let's say, a material that is trustworthy, that is legitimate, and that is what creates trust. And trust will create recognition.
Just a small comment. In Digitech, there is no diaspora. It's just the tech Armenians.
But we're just saying it's such an advantage, so to pull them in might be a challenge. But we're getting into exactly what we hoped, right? Which is to get the perspective of people who have done this from the outside, know the challenges you're facing to talk about. So Catherine, you had something to add. No, sorry, Adele, you had something to add, I think. And we were going to talk about what are the biggest obstacles, but if you could share some from your experience in Estonia.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. And I actually, first of all, wanted to echo and fully agree that it definitely has to be a coordinated top-down effort as well. So I'm fully in agreement with that. And that was actually one of the keys to success for Estonia as well. And you were mentioning some of the efforts that have already been ongoing to try to define a tech brand, or a brand itself, and it hasn't really stuck. Those are also interesting stories. So in Estonia, by today, when Estonians speak to people abroad, generally people understand, okay, oh yes, Estonia, that's the digital stuff. Digital society, digital government. You also have a lot of startups, so you're a very small country. There's these small snippets that people know. Now, this didn't happen by accident, and it didn't happen overnight. There were also numerous branding efforts. First of them, I believe, was in 2001 when we won the Eurovision. And there was this first push to think, okay, well, now there's going to be a lot of eyes on us, a lot of people coming here. Let's define some sort of brand that people can relate to. In many ways, it was successful. The government worked with a British company at the time, a lot of money spent on it. I believe the slogan was like positively transforming. There were some elements there. Of the elements also stuck. People started to understand that it's a country that's moving towards Europe, it's a transforming country. But the failure in that brand was that the whole of Estonia, the ecosystem, didn't really have anything to latch onto. It was a beautiful story, positively transforming, but it's very abstract. A lot of countries are beautifully, positively transforming, and it wasn't really embraced by the ecosystem. I think one of the messages here is that substance also always needs to marry that storytelling, and by today, the coordinated effort of storytelling in Estonia has evolved into this e-Estonia brand. Again, this didn't happen by accident. There's a central team under Enterprise Estonia that is building this brand, that is constantly creating the messages, refining the messages, communicating with the ecosystem to raise awareness of the brand kits and tools. But really importantly, the substance always marries the storytelling. And I believe that the e-Estonia story became successful because there were now elements in it that everybody could relate to. There's the digital government. We all use these digital services. We believe in it. We know that it's true. And we're also proud to talk about it to the global community. We have by now 10 unicorns that has come out of a country of 1.3 million people. This is quite an unbelievable story for many. And these are interesting stories, but they're also very unique stories. And I believe that it hasn't been a lot of other different elements that exist in Estonia that make it very interesting, unique, and special. But there have been these very specific, very unique elements that have been the drivers of this e-Estonia brand, and that have created the brand ambassadors globally, internally and globally. And indeed, Armenia has a very proud nation internally, and you have a proud diaspora externally. So you have very good grounds to create this sort of brand ambassadors, but it happens quite naturally once the centralized coordination and the bottom-up substance is there. So all the elements are there, but I fully agree with you that the centralized coordination is what brings it all together in the end.
Okay, so I feel like we need to get real here, because we've all identified like how you do, like here's the process, you do it internally, and then you decide on a message, you spread it externally. But this critical element of let's agree to do this together, maybe that's one of the hardest parts. So can we get real here, and can Sargis and Gohar, can you talk just a little bit about what has kept Armenia from establishing this brand so far?
I think I touched upon this topic in previous answer. The main reason that we couldn't convince the government to take the lead and go top down, and this is not about the recent government, like we have been doing this regularly. But recently, High-Tech Ministry and Enterprise Armenia are very active in this topic. We started these discussions. Hopefully, we'll come to agreement soon.
Is there an element, though, of the people in the ecosystem not agreeing? This is one question I have.
There might be, but UATE is representing 75% of ICT taxpayers. So basically, if we agree, I think the rest will follow.
Gohar, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Sargis. So I believe that during the last years there was a strong communication alignment. At least it is improving day by day between government and public-private sector. And now we have agreement that we need this tech brand. And we have agreement that we should also leverage international expertise to create our tech brand. And I believe that this role will be taken by Enterprise Armenia to promote once we have it. Yeah.
I hope everyone in the audience is writing down some questions, because you all will be following this ecosystem journey more closely than we are. So I think we'll have some good questions. But I think, Catherine, did you have something to add to this point?
Well, you asked us what were the main obstacles.
Yeah.
And Well, you mentioned one big obstacle is the fact that, you know, the private sector and the public sector cannot agree, and that's, I think, one of the main obstacles. Another obstacle which can come despite the fact that they may agree is that a brand should not be seen, and I think Sargis said it, but as a marketing tool only. It's not only a nice logo and, you know, and a nice claim underneath, because that's what many people have done, many countries have done also, and that's ends up in failure. Because and even though some countries spend a lot of money on, you know, putting those very beautiful videos and splashing them all over the place, but then there's no content and nothing happens afterwards. Because a brand is a long-term story, and a brand is also evolving, and I think Estonia has moved on also since it was created. The French tech has moved on. It was first the creation of an ecosystem, because in France that was lacking, as I was explaining, and now it has sort of morphed into after, you know, developing the unicorns, and now we have a project of having 100 unicorns by 2030, which is quite, you know, well, hopefully we'll get there, and but also being specific about sectors, like of course deep tech and a lot of different sectors. So a brand is evolving. A brand should be in the long term. It's a public policy, it's a public strategy, and it's an alliance of both the private and the public sector. So it's the branding part exists because obviously you need to have an image, you have to have a claim or a narrative, but you have to create something that is much more than just a visual sign. So I think that's a major obstacle when you don't have this vision of branding, and many people stop at the, oh, this is a nice logo, but you know, this is not what it is about.
Can you talk a little bit more, and I might have Adhele jump in here too, but so what was the process that you all used to figure out what goes along? Like, how did you build out that narrative, those thematic elements of the brand, and understanding that it changes over time? But what's the process? You have a bunch of meetings? Do you like hire a big consultant? Like, what do you do?
That's a good question, because in that area I'm also actually looking at it from the outside. I'm actually kind of the beneficiary of the Estonia brand. I have previously worked in the Estonia Briefing Center team, where it is a team that works daily on actually introducing Estonia and putting out the branding messages there. To be honest, I don't exactly know how we got to that team, but it was definitely, again, a conscious decision, and I believe that journey from, you know, that British company creating a beautiful, positively transforming brand for Estonia, all the way to actually having a team that has ownership over this process. And what it looks like today is that, again, there are centralized teams that are working on building not just the Estonia brand. The Estonia brand is one aspect of what the Enterprise Estonia branding team does. There's branding for different industries within Estonia. Just Estonia is one of the ones that is stuck globally the strongest in certain circles. And the process there is that there's, I mean, on an annual basis, there's a review of the brand, there's impact studies of the brand, and also there's a constant engagement of the community. So the branding team, when there's an update, when there's some sort of study that they've created, when there's some success stories, there is a community element there where people come together and hear these updates from the team itself. So there's a team that has ownership over this process, and they're the ones building it. And maybe one aspect, and again, I don't know exactly how we reach this one unifying idea, but the key to success probably is in finding something that's not just special and like a value proposition, but something that's really unique, the thing that really starts to stand out in the rest of the world. In Estonia, at the time, it was this digital society. Now a lot of countries are digitalizing, a lot of governments provide fully digital services, but Estonia is still stuck as one of the first fully digital societies. Another element, as I mentioned there, was the the 10 unicorns coming out of such a small country. But again, this really emerged bottom up as a substance of something that we did, something we were proud of, and then the top down just came there to bring that unified story together and really focus on certain elements. And you can try a lot of different things, but once that one thing sticks, you need to start actually nurturing and building that further.
Before we go on, is this right? We only have 14 minutes left, is that right? Okay, so in that case, why don't you say something, Catherine, and then we will open it up to the audience.
Yeah, I think what Adhele is saying is very true for Estonia, and as I discussed with her colleagues in Estonia, this digital society is also this idea of a transparent society, a society where information and trust is circulating, and that's what I think is also building community, because it's very important in that country, and especially coming where they were coming from, where line was at the bottom of communication, and they created a very trustworthy society, and we know that branding is based on trust, because the value it brings is trust. It's the most important thing. As for France, a completely different story, because what we achieved is we didn't have the community at first, so we built a community, and the community became bigger and bigger, and the community was a volunteer community. Let's say we created what we call hubs, regional city hubs, and then hubs outside of France. So now we have 114 communities around the world, and all these communities are volunteer communities of either French, Francophile, Francophone, whatever, startups that want to get together and share insight, share values and information, and help each other. So this, I think, is at the core of what we've created. And as I was thinking about what we could bring, each of us, to Armenia, I have different set of ideas about. Typically, this community stuff could be an interesting aspect of what we could create, because there is this strong community sense already. So it would be much less difficult for you to build it than for us. The effort we did was much bigger than the one you'd have to do to implement that.
If I may, I think that definitely the external eye on this will be very helpful, because I think that sometimes the main concern that I have while we're creating our tech brand is that very often we look at things inwardly, rather than outwardly. We talk to each other, we know each other, and how good we are. But we forget that we need to shape something how the world perceives us. So I believe that here, just external eye on us will be very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, questions from the audience. Good. This is going to be awesome. Okay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already. So, yep. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Stand up and just tell us your name and your question.
Hey, my name is Ashot. I've been doing the branding and helping tech companies raise money. And first of all, thank you for the speech, which was great. So it's going to be an interesting question. So as Adhele said, it has to have substance, right? The brand. But a lot of countries, they use some hacks. Okay, so we know that you have to spend a lot of advertising money, create the brand logo and stuff. I spent part of my career a week doing internship in the Office of Business France, which was a really cool experience. And the French use their famous peacock, the origami sign, for La French Tech. And they branded La French Tech for you to know, okay, this is France. United States never brands their tag. It's Silicon Valley. I've never seen United States tech or something. It's Silicon Valley. UK did their business ambassador program, and Estonia added access to internet as a fundamental human right. It's a way to kind of, a growth hack for the brand. So the question would be, knowing what you know about Armenia and what has happened now, what growth hacks would you think of or recommend for us to use?
Okay.
didn't hear the question very well.
I think what growth hacks would you suggest that Armenia use? And I think this question is for the outside experts. A growth hack meaning like how do we accelerate this, the formation of the brand? I have a response or Adhele, do you want to answer?
Well, from the outside, I don't want to be the one to say what is the slogan or of the substance that you want to pick out, right? I think that would require a bit more assessment. But one of the ways in which you can get that message out is when you have certain international moments where the spotlight is on you. So in Estonia, for example, well, the Eurovision was one example, right? But we also had the certain moments in the EU, and we used a moment when we were the ones on the spotlight to actually use that as a way to bring the branding messages to the table. So I think it would be to identify what are those events that you can start building on top of, but then you need still that community-based slogan hacking to figure out what is that very, very unique thing that we can bring to the table, whether it has something to do with AI or not. Everybody's now talking about AI, so what is again that unique thing in AI if that's what you want to go for? But it has to be a community-based effort and piggybacking on top of somewhere where you already have the spotlight on you.
Yeah, I've seen countries do it where the president or the prime minister of the company, or in a moment where they have the global spotlight, will talk about tech. That's one way to do it. Okay, let's take a question from here. Just, I think in the second row back, because you guys had your hands up so quickly.
I had a question my name is Arek. I've been living in Armenia for the past year. I'm actually retired from tech.
If you can hold the mic a little.
Okay. I'm actually retired from tech. I had a question for Adhele, because Armenia and Estonia started from the same starting point as the Soviet infrastructure. And one of the things that's critical for building tech ecosystem is the talent pipeline. What has Estonia done to build up to transform its Soviet infrastructure in order to support e-Estonia? By infrastructure, I mean like education infrastructure.
I'm looking that we have 7 minutes, and now I need to figure out how to put it into 1 minute. Well, I would say that it all boiled down to leadership. There are a lot of technical policy decisions that were made in order to transform from that, basically from nothing into what we are now. But we were very lucky in the sense that we had well-informed leadership and forward-looking leadership that took it on themselves as their mission to build a state that we see today, and that pipeline was created really in tandem with investing into education. So when the leadership started investing into technologies as a basis for this new country, then this went hand in hand in education programs in schools. We called it the Tiger Leap. It went hand in hand with education programs targeted for the elderly community. So not only building those systems from the emerging technologies that were available at the time, but actually making sure that that uptake is broad, and then putting those systems in place in society to make sure that everybody can play in that same playing field. But it all starts with forward-looking leadership who takes ownership over that. My actual hat also is in Digital Nation, which is an advisory company that supports other governments now in building this sort of digital society and digital government. And we see that we can advise on the most technical strategies, the best technologies, but at the end of the day, the leadership is the one who has to adopt it and push it forward. And again, it's a long-term game, as Catherine also said. So Estonia didn't set out to be e-Estonia. We became it through the decisions that were made, but it was just problem solving by leaders who are willing to do that job.
And I think we had a question up here in the front.
Well, thank you. My name is Arsen. I come from one of the biggest IT companies in Armenia. We are cooperating with banks inside Europe. More than 1,000 banks has been served by us, together with WorldLab. So we are in the process of showcasing the company. And while we are showcasing the Armenia as well. And here comes one aspect of the content, how we showcase the company and the country. UATE is doing a very great job on showcasing Armenia with the content that they create with Digitech, with WCIT and all those events. And well, I would like to emphasize that my country has had many inventors. And if you Google just in the internet, you can see 100 of inventors, but we cannot see more information about them because of the lack of a content that we had put it, and we should do this together with Enterprise Armenia, together with our colleagues, with the community as well. And I would like to ask you what you will recommend us to start with or continue with to make more visible content for our country, for companies, and not only the big ones, for the small ones as well. Thank you.
Catherine, do you want to take that?
So I'm going to rephrase your question to be sure I understood properly. You would want to know what we would recommend as the first actions to take, or which process we want to take, because I work. I've been coming here as an expert with Expertise France on the EU for Innovation project. So our aim, a pillar of that project, which aims to accompany the innovation development of Armenia, has a pillar which is to help creating a tech brand. So our role is a facilitator. Okay, so it's not like you're taking something out of a hat and you imagine, like, we can do this, we can do that. What Adhele says was very interesting. She was speaking of taking some events that are important to you, but we have to think about these things. You cannot, these things have to be done together, and it has to be taking into account what are the specific assets, what is the specific situation of Armenia, and so it requires a lot of working together. And I think it's very difficult to go out of, just like that, to say, well, we should do this or that. The first thing we should do is work together on creating this messaging and the policy that goes together with it, with the ecosystem, with the government. That is the essence. And then you can think of how we want to convey the messages, to whom, which are our targets, and how much we want to disseminate our message. And it all depends on the resources that we have, whether they are human or financial. So you cannot, for instance, if you think of a brand like the Great Britain brand, I'm sure you all have seen this Great Britain, food is great, tech is great, etc., etc. They invested millions of pounds in that. You have to have that amount of money. As the French tech, we never had that much money, okay? And I think we've done something which is just as effective, even if maybe more effective in the end. Because we've worked on the ground. We've worked with people, and not only with, big shows of, splashing, videos and stuff like that. So the more visible things are not maybe the more effective things. So I know I'm not answering your question, but this is all I can say.
It's not an easy process, right? So we're actually at time, which is a shame because I see so many questions, but can I just ask our two Armenians, can you just give us 3 words each, 3 words that you feel describe the tech community that you obviously love so much here in Armenia. What are the 3 words you would use to describe it?
Enterprise Armenia had put some effort to frame this a little bit. It is only 2 words right now that coming on prototyping nation. This is how I see it.
First of all, trust, creativity, and heart.
I love that. Wow.
Love.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here for the panel. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but please feel free to come up and speak with us in these waning moments and also out on the floor. Thank you so much.